Welcome to this explainer. We're going to dive straight into how your body solves a massive biological engineering problem literally every single second, just to keep you alive and healthy. There is a microscopic transit system operating inside you right now, and understanding how it works is absolutely crucial to understanding human health. Today, we're taking a fascinating journey right through your bloodstream. We'll be hitting 4 key stops: the fat transport problem, the lipoprotein fleet, mapping their delivery routes, and finally, what happens when this whole system breaks down. All right, let's jump right into part 1, the fat transport problem, or how to mix oil and water. So here's the fundamental issue. Lipids, or fats, are entirely hydrophobic. They absolutely hate water. Yet our blood plasma is primarily made of water. So how on earth does this vital cargo of dietary fats, cholesterol, and fat-soluble vitamins actually get transported to the tissues that desperately need them without just clumping up into a dangerous, oily mess in our veins? Well, the body's solution is absolute genius: the lipoprotein. Think of these as highly specialized microscopic delivery vehicles. They're essentially spherical biological packages that combine lipids with specific proteins called apolipoproteins. Their one and only job is to keep that lipid cargo perfectly soluble while securely transporting it to and from your cells. Picture the sheer elegance of this microscopic engineering for a second. The outside has a hydrophilic or water-loving shell. That outer layer perfectly camouflages and protects the hydrophobic, fat-loving core of triglycerides packed inside. It is, for all intents and purposes, a biological submarine designed to safely carry water-hating cargo right through your bloodstream. Let's move on to section 2, the lipoprotein fleet, and meet the diverse vehicles that actually navigate this complex highway system. Now, this fleet is definitely not a one-size-fits-all operation. There are massive physical differences depending on the job at hand. You have the incredibly huge, low-density chylomicrons. Think of these as the massive cargo ships hauling dietary fat straight from your gut. Then, the vehicles get dramatically smaller and denser, stepping down from VLDL to LDL, all the way down to the tiny, super-dense HDLs. But how do these biological vehicles actually know where to drop off their cargo? Well, each particle has specific proteins attached to its surface that act exactly like license plates or ID badges. This way, the body's cellular bouncers know exactly who they're dealing with. For example, ApoB48 and B100 give the particle its structure and act as a literal key to bind to cellular receptors. Then you have ApoCII, which flips the switch to activate unloading enzymes. ApoE binds to remnant receptors, and ApoA1 activates enzymes specifically for HDL. It's a highly secure, built-in identification system. If we look closely at the cargo loads, the specificity is wild. Very low-density lipoproteins, or VLDLs, roll out of the liver acting as heavy freighters. They are packed with 60% endogenous triglycerides. That's the fat your liver produces internally. Their main mission is hauling this massive payload of energy out to your peripheral tissues. By contrast, low-density lipoproteins, LDLs, are built for a completely different mission. They are primarily cholesterol carriers, lugging around a payload that is about 50% cholesterol and cholesterol esters. This is the cholesterol that's destined to be dropped off at peripheral tissues. And because they carry such a dense payload, when the transit system backs up, these are the particles that can trigger some serious long-term issues. Okay, let's map out how this cargo actually gets around. Section 3. Mapping delivery routes. The journey of a VLDL, for instance, happens in 3 highly orchestrated steps. First, it gets dispatched from the liver directly into the bloodstream as a brand new nascent particle. Second, it gets modified right there in transit as its triglyceride cargo is degraded and offloaded. And third, having dropped a massive amount of weight, it structurally transforms and shrinks into a denser LDL or IDL particle. A really crucial player in this process is an extracellular enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, or LPL. Imagine LPL as an active unloading dock, permanently anchored to your capillary walls, especially around your muscle and fat tissues. When a VLDL drives by, LPL reads that ApoC2 license plate we talked about, grabs the vehicle, and literally pulls the triglycerides right out of it. It breaks them down into free fatty acids so your cells can use them for energy immediately or store them for later. What's truly mind-blowing is how dynamic this system is. These vehicles don't even have to pull over to unload. They swap cargo out on the open highway.
An enzyme called cholesterol ester transfer protein actually catalyzes an exchange between two completely different vehicles while they're in transit. An HDL particle will transfer cholesterol esters over to a VLDL, and in return, the VLDL hands over triacylglycerol. It's this continuous microscopic balancing act happening inside you every single second.
So what happens when these vehicles break down or the whole transit system overloads? Let's get into our final section, when the system fails, traffic jams and disease.
When this system fails, the physical evidence is quite shocking. If massive cargo ships like Chylomicrons start piling up, which happens in type 1 hyperlipoproteinemia because that LPL unloading dock is genetically deficient, the fats literally have nowhere to go. The result? Your blood plasma can actually turn thick and milky white with trapped circulating fat particles. Other severe traffic jams cause major problems too. Take steatohepatitis, which is essentially fatty liver disease, where the liver is churning out fats but can't dispatch the vehicles fast enough. Then there's A-beta lipoproteinemia, which is an outright inability to even load the vehicles with lipids in the first place. Or, if there's a glitch clearing out the remnants from circulation because of a faulty ApoE license plate, it can lead directly to premature atherosclerosis.
Maintaining the balance of this complex highway system is literally the dividing line between metabolic health and severe dyslipidemia. When everything is humming along, transport and degradation by LPL are incredibly efficient. But the moment there's a breakdown, you get lipid accumulation, setting the stage for a cascade of metabolic nightmares like obesity and type 2 diabetes.
The central takeaway from our source material really boils down to this. These invisible, microscopic imbalances are directly responsible for macroscopic, life-altering diseases. An imbalance leads to lipid accumulation, which drastically spikes the risk for atherosclerosis and coronary heart disease. It is an internal traffic jam with incredibly high stakes. Which leaves us with a final, pretty vital question to ponder. How are your daily habits either helping or hindering this incredible internal fleet of delivery vehicles? Remember, every single meal introduces new cargo into this system, relying entirely on your body's unloading docks and transfer proteins to keep those highways clear. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning and keep marveling at the microscopic machinery that keeps you moving.